Good evening, everyone. Hello, hello. I hope you're doing well. I hope you are as excited as I am to join this Fine Wine Club session. And I can see, you're dancing already. So I know there's someone else excited at least. That's great. It's fantastic to have you here again. As I mentioned before, two superstar winemakers, probably I guess the best part of my job. So I always love, Fine Wine Club, and also to be able to speak to you guys about those incredible wines that our very talented winemakers are making for us. I'm just going to give you a little bit of an idea of who is with us on the call. Well, I don't think you need an introduction. You've been here for quite some time on pretty much all the fine wine clubs, and we also have Meg from Naked Wines joining us. Hey, Meg, hope you're well as well. And obviously, this is what this is all about. We have tonight two incredible winemakers, two fabulous women in wine. We have Kim, who's calling us from WA. Hey, Kim, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Fantastic, fantastic. Good to have you here. And we
Thank
have
you.
Jen, Jen Pfeiffer from Rutherglen. I'm sure you all know Jen Pfeiffer, and you are about to discover many other things on Jen you haven't heard about already. Hello, Jen. How are you doing?
Hi. Hello, angels. G'day, angels. How is everyone? Very happy to be here.
Excellent. So welcome everyone. As you know, you always have the possibility to ask us some questions through the chat box. We're going to look into this, throughout the tasting. What I'd love to do now is to speak to you about the other wines that you must have received as part of this Fine Wine Club June pack. So I'm not going to speak about Kim's Chenin. I'm not going to speak about Jen's Winemaker of the Decade Dream Fantasy. And I'll try to introduce them to you in order of the way I would drink them. So the first one is a very unique bottle of wine. It's the Bolle d'Amore from Brian Fletcher. It's a Prosecco Rosé. So Prosecco, we are in Italy. We're in Veneto, in the northern east part of Italy. This is made with Glera, which is a traditional grape we're using, to make Prosecco in Italy. And they've added a little bit of Pinot Noir to give this incredible, beautiful salmon color that you have there. It's a vintage 2022, and this is the very first Prosecco Rosé that we're getting at Naked Wine. I can tell you it's an incredible bottle of bubbles. And I would highly recommend these bubbles with, just by themselves. I think it's a fantastic aperitif. But why don't you try that with some Thai food, with some Asian type of dishes, and also any Japanese food as well? It's an absolute match in heaven. So we'd love you to try this, the Bolle d'Amore Prosecco Rosé from Brian Fletcher, another legend winemaker in WA. And then I'm going to jump straight into reds, because we only have one white wine in this case, which is the Chenin, and I will obviously leave Kim to speak about the Chenin. The second one, same thing, I'll introduce to you in order of tasting. It's the Adrian and Rebecca Santolins. This is a Nero d'Avola 2022, coming from Heathcote. It's part of their reserve small trials, small batches. When I say small batch, to give you an idea, they've only produced 3,000 bottles of this wine. So this is very, very, very tiny, very exclusive. Nero d'Avola, it's also a grape coming from Italy. It's a grape coming from Sicily, actually. And it's making slowly its way up here in Australia. There are two ways where you can make Nero d'Avola, and I'm pretty sure Kim and Jen, you would agree on this. You can make it, in a sort of a medium body style with lovely spices, with a lovely acidity, something pretty similar in some extent to a Pinot Noir. Or you can make it, in a much bigger, much riper, much more complex version. This is probably towards the first type of style that this Nero d'Avola has been made in. So this is reasonably low in terms of alcohol, 13.5. I would definitely recommend that with some, charcuterie, also with some cheeses as well. Any sort of, pasta dish with some tomato sauce as well. It's pretty unique. So if you are a Pinot Noir drinker and if you want to explore something different, I would definitely recommend this Nero d'Avola from Rebecca and Adrian. And this is made in Ifcot. Then we're going to leave Australia and we're going to go to the US. In our last Fine Wine Club, we were super lucky to have a wine from the Russian River Valley from California, made by Darrow Groom. It was an incredible Chardonnay. So I hope you guys have tasted this wine. And here it is. That's what I would call the little brother or the big brother of the Chardonnay. This is the Pinot Noir, also coming from the Russian River Valley. So Russian River Valley in California, this is slightly cooler climate than in some other areas in California, known for its, foggy days over there. It's a unique Pinot Noir. So if you love Pinot Noir, try it. You won't be disappointed. There's an amazing complexity into it. Very, very intense, very long. But it's a full-bodied style of Pinot Noir. So again, lovely wine from California, made by Darrow Groom, the legend himself. And the last one I'm going to introduce, and then I'm going to leave the floor to Kim. We're back in Australia. We are in WA. This is a wine made by Stu Pym. Stuart is a legendary winemaker, has been making wine in many, many different places in Australia, but he's been a winemaker in the Loire Valley, in Italy as well. In WA and especially in Margaret River. When I think about this region, I'm thinking about Cabernet, I'm thinking about Chardonnay, but here is a Cabernet from 2020, which I think is interesting because Cabernet is probably one of the varietals that has the highest aging potential. So this is a wine that I would say is ready to drink, but you can also keep for 10, 20 years easily. This is the top range of Stu. This is the Angeli range. So is Cabernet from 2020. It's an absolute classic. Really, something with a lovely tannin structure. It's not too sweet. Lovely complexity into it as well. Probably need some food to be paired with. But if you love Cabernet, if you love classic Cabernet, you will absolutely love this one. So I know, and I hope I've been quite reasonable in terms of time here. Yeah,
that was
sounds
so
all right.
quick.
Well, thank you. Yeah, last time, I sort of went over, so people told me you can speed up. But guys, don't hesitate to taste these wines. If you have any other questions, please let us know. Feel free also to ask the questions directly to the winemaker. Obviously, they are the best one to talk to you about those wines. I think this is an amazing pack we've put together for the season as well, and we've tried to keep that in mind. So I truly hope you'll enjoy these wines. Now, we'll come back onto our two amazing guests, and same thing, because we wanted you to try the wine, in the right order of tasting. We're going to start with the white wine you could find in this case. We're going to start with yourself, Kim, and your incredible Chenin, the Dreambird Chenin 2023. So I'm going to leave the floor to you, Kim. Welcome back again. What I would love you to do, Kim, if you can, to start with, is to tell us about yourself. Tell us about your, how did it started with Naked? And why are you so passionate about wines from the beautiful region you are in?
Thank you, Antoine. So I started with Naked in 2015, and it came along because my friend Ben Gould mentioned to me that they were looking for female winemakers. So I had a chat with Mark Pollard, Pol, the legend, and I had left winemaking because I'd had children. So I was sort of a mum and working in a cellar door and not really making wine at that stage. So he said, why don't we just put it to the angels and get them to vote whether they want you to make wine for them? So that's what happened. And I started with a Riesling and a Tempranillo Shiraz in 2016. So that was a really exciting, new little journey. And I hadn't made my own brand of wine. I'd always worked for someone else in the past. And I had been, I started my career in Margaret River. I did a couple of vintages overseas, but I really just spent my time in Margaret River. So I really, really love this region. It was always my plan to move here. I remember having a chat to my dad when I was in year 12 saying, what can I do to live down here? And he was like, well, we're walking through a newly planted vineyard at the time. And he was like, well, science and art sort of goes together. And why don't you try winemaking? And I was like, oh, yeah, brilliant. So, yeah, that's how it started. And I moved straight down here after uni and I haven't looked back. Yeah.
Epic. Oh, that sounds good. Sounds amazing. And you're obviously now a mother, Kim.
Yes.
How do you work everything out?
I'm highly organised. You have to be.
Look at her background. I mean, that's commitment.
Yeah, this is bedroom. Yeah, this is the spare room. No visitors for us.
That's amazing.
Super organized, and husband that helps out a bit, but he's a very busy chef. So yeah, we just juggle, and the kids are older now, so it's a lot easier.
Fantastic, great. What can you tell us about Margaret River and the WA in general, Kim? Obviously, I mean, you're not, you're doing wines from over there. What makes this area very, very special for you? And what would you recommend, I guess, people to try when they're coming, to, I guess, the larger Western Australia region first?
Margaret River. I'm based in Margaret River, and I love the region because it's a maritime climate, so it doesn't get too hot during the ripening season. So that cool wind comes off the ocean and cools everything down. So it means that generally, the Cabernets can spend a long time out on the vines and develop those beautiful fine tannins. And Chardonnay, it's just perfect. And it's the same for Chenin, which is why I ended up making a Chenin for you guys. I've always been passionate about Chenin. And then WA as a state, there's some amazing little pockets where, Pemberton and the Great Southern, there's amazing, that's cooler area. So lots of fantastic Pinots and Rieslings come out of that area. And then there's Geograph and the Swan Valley, and I get quite a lot of fruit from Geograph because that's sort of like a hidden gem. Sort of lots of different areas within Geograph that you can get some warmer areas where I get a lot of my reds, and then some cooler, higher altitude areas where I get Riesling and Malbec and things like that. So it's just, it's got everything. Like there's warmer areas and there's lots of different aspects of it to explore. But if you're coming to Margaret River, I'd definitely suggest looking out for Chardonnays and Cabernets because that's what we do best, I say.
So, Kim, there's, I'm from Victoria, so there's, a few Southern Victorian people who'd like to rival your Chardonnay there. So, what do you think makes Marg's Chardonnay different to, say, the Southern Victorian Chardies?
I think as I said, that cooling down in this during the ripening season, I think the soil types, like we've got some pretty unique, lots of sandy soils, but also sort of gravelly loam, which is pretty perfect for growing Chardonnay. There's quite a lot of variation within especially in Margaret River. Like you have the warmer area where I am in the northern part of Margaret River, then you get the southern area where they just get that really beautiful acidity and really, purity of fruit when you and then you can blend them all together and make this fantastic, really complex Chardonnay. So, yeah, I don't know.
What about the clone? the special Gin clone.
Yes, the Gin clone. So that's pretty unique. It develops these tiny little berries, which is called hen and chicken in really good years. And the smaller the berry, the more intense the flavour. So the higher the hen and chicken, as we call it, the more intense the flavours and the fruit. It just is an amazing. Usually, if you have a lot of hen and chicken in that season, you know you're going to have a brilliant Chardonnay.
Beautiful. Kim, I am testing as we speak the Chenin, and
yes,
and I'll make a confession. This is not my first sip because I've opened the bottle yesterday night, like yourself, Kim.
Yes,
and
me too.
I actually I'll be honest with you. I grew up on Chenin in the Loire Valley. So, if there's probably one varietal I absolutely love, I will go straight to Chenin. You mentioned that you have also this passion about Chenin. For you, what makes it so special?
I think the versatility. So it's kind of like Chardonnay, and I love Chardonnay, and the same goes for Chenin. Chenin holds its acidity really well. So for instance, like I use Chenin for my sparkling wine, and I pick it a lot, 2 or 3 weeks earlier, and you have this beautiful acidity, but then you still get some beautiful fruit flavors coming through. So it's not as so when a lot of times people use Chardonnay for sparkling, and it can be quite neutral. So what I love is the fruit that comes through with Chenin. And then so for this particular wine, we left it on the vine about 3 weeks after I'd picked the grapes for the sparkling base, and the flavors that developed out of this were just phenomenal, and it still retained acidity. So it's still got that big bold flavor, but that really lovely finish that just makes you want to keep drinking it. So it's just a really versatile, amazing wine, and you can do lots of different things with it. So I made it like a Chardonnay. So we fermented it with high solids. So when you press out the grapes, you leave the solid material in the wine, in the juice, and then ferment it. So it gives it this really lovely texture. It didn't add yeast, so just used the yeasts that were naturally occurring. Doing it in a barrel ferment, it gives it a lot of surface area to the lees, which is the solids, and it builds that texture again. So this one is I was really, really happy with this one. It's probably one of my favorites out of 2023 vintage. And the flavors, it's like I don't know, when you have a smell, like it's really unique, and lots of things going on.
I have to say, Kim, I remember when this came into the office post-bottling, and this is the Chenin Blanc that made me actually get Chenin. It made me understand it and fall in love with it. So well done on that part, because before that, it kind of was like this, in Australia at least, it kind of came up as a bit of a, it's making a comeback, kind of like how bigger Chardonnays were making a comeback. I didn't really get it. And then I had yours, and I was like, I get it, because I'm a big Chardonnay lover, and having that really nice acidity and that texture and body on the palate is just stunning. So thank you for teaching me and bringing me into the world of Chenin. I appreciate it.
Yeah, pleasure. So funny story with this one. I was actually really cross with the guy that manages the vineyard. I really wanted to pick it a week before, and I was like, oh my God, this is not going to be a good wine. And I was really worried about how developed it would be. And one of the winemakers, I'd shown him the juice, and I'd talked to him about it beforehand. And he's like, you might just make a really amazing wine. And that's what happened. So I remember tasting it in barrel going, wow, this is so interesting. And every time I taste it, you can taste different things. And pretty excited when it came in. I was very happy, but I didn't tell the viticulturalist that.
Nah.
So what would you do? What would you do moving forward? Would you pick it later again?
No, I'd pick it. Same. No, sorry. You mean pick it when they wanted to pick it?
Yeah, would you changed your view now and you're going to pick
Yeah,
it a little bit riper? Yeah.
yeah, definitely. But unfortunately, I can't get that fruit from that vineyard again. So I've been kicked off that vineyard. So that's a shame. But hopefully one day I'll get it back or find something similar. So yeah,
Shannon's
Fingers crossed,
really
Kim.
growing in popularity, isn't it?
it is, and it's a shame because in Margaret River. So when I first started winemaking down here, there was so much Shannon because of the Amberley Shannon, and then when I started looking for fruit for naked wines, there was Shannon everywhere, and people were offering it to me for free. And I asked Mark Pollard then, and he said Shannon won't sell. Like no one's drinking Shannon. And that all these grapes got ripped out of the ground or converted to another variety. And yeah, now it's coming back and the price is going up and there's no Shannon. You can't find it anymore.
What a shame. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very interesting indeed because there's obviously more and more appetite for white wines, nowadays, and especially those wines with this beautiful texture. The work you can do on the lees with them. It seems to be even for us, yourself, the Angels, that sometimes Chardonnay can be misinterpreted. Chardonnay, it offers a wide array of choices, and it feels like nowadays, Chenin people sort of it's the sweet spot. That's what I'm trying to say. And I'm really impressed here again, Kim, by the texture itself. I think this is absolutely amazing. But I would recommend our Angels two things with this wine. Is probably open this a bit early, give it some time to breathe a little bit. And the second one is as we're speaking now, the wine is getting warmer and is getting better and better. Don't drink your Chenin too cold. And you'll probably agree with this, Kim, because right now, it's probably, 16 degrees, in the glass. It's absolutely perfect, full spectrum of flavors, beautiful acidity, but you do have the texture now. And I think, for something for a Chardonnay lover who wants something, want to explore something a bit different with a lovely acidity, a different scope of flavors, I think this is the perfect bottle for you. Would you try to bring on some people from other varietals, Kim? I mean, Chenin, as you mentioned, is pretty versatile, so I think it's different spots.
Sorry, what do you mean?
But I don't think this is only for Chardonnay lovers. I think Pinot Gris lovers can can love this Chenin because of the texture as well.
Yeah.
I think it's a crowd pleaser, to be honest.
Oh, it's so versatile, and it goes really well with different foods as well. So I had it the other night, made a butter chicken for the kids, and it went down, a treat. I've had it with seafood, like sort of prawns or crayfish with butter and stuff, and it's delicious like that. Great with cheese. So yeah, it's just amazing. Just keeps growing in the glass and changing, and yeah, very excited about this one.
It's an all seasons wine by the
it
sound.
Is.
Like
yeah,
you can have
it is
all sorts of times of the year, all sorts of company.
Yes, yeah. I sat by the fire last night with one of my friends, and we shared a glass. So yeah, she loved it. So it's a good winter wine as well.
Beautiful. Would you recommend to age this one a little bit, Kim? It's absolutely delicious now, but do you think there's an aging potential?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I think it'll develop a bit more in the bottle over. I wouldn't give it too long. I prefer Chenin to show that fruit, so I'd drink it in the next couple of years, I'd say. But yeah, it'll definitely develop and change in the bottle over time. 2 to 5 years probably.
And what's going to be the main characteristics we see in a couple of years if we did put it down?
So it'll change, like you'll lose all those primary fruit characters, the stone fruits and pear, and you'll see more of the sort of spicy characters coming through, lemon curd, brioche, ginger, that sort of thing. So it'll just, I can already
put some down. I actually just ordered a bit more, so
I know I'm hoarding I've got 6 cases right next to me here. I'm like, I don't think I'm going to sell that to any more restaurants. They can stay here.
I would keep that for sure. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm just looking whether or not we have any questions from you guys. I can't see anything unless I'm missing something.
No questions have come through. Just a comment from one of the angels who's just absolutely loved the story about how you actually got into winemaking. So it's always good to hear how you actually came to the craft. Anyone that has been trying along with us tonight or is now excited to open up a bottle of Kim's Chenin, please make sure you rate the wine. I'm sure Kim would love to know your thoughts on tasting along, and rating the Buy It Again really, really helps. So a reminder to whip out your app or jump onto the website and rate as we taste tonight.
Speaking of rating, Kim, this confession, something we need to make with to you with M when you send us some samples of this one and the sparkling. This was my pick of the month, and the sparkling was M's pick of the month.
Oh, awesome!
Not saying that because you're here, but this tells you how much this team loves Chenin, right? We should have shirts like Chenin. We love Chenin.
Well, I've got a little story. You may or may not have known, but I have started my WSET level 3 training, education to learn more and more about the wines of the world. And awesome. We, like class number 2, we had a big session on Chenin, and one guy rocked up with a cap on that said Chenin, Chenin, Chenin. And I was like, and it was his
I want one.
So, yeah. It's coming back.
Sick.
Oh, that's awesome.
Bringing Chenin back. I want a t-shirt. Bringing Chenin back, baby.
Yes.
Yeah. It's another very interesting point about Chenin as well. Kim, you mentioned this is pretty sought after. It's getting more and more expensive. But I believe something. If you're a Chardonnay drinker, if you're looking for value for money, I mean, Chenin is something absolutely amazing. Very nice Chardonnays, especially from the Margaret River, from some of the most famous houses, can be pretty pricey right now. If you look at this Chenin, what it delivers in terms of pleasure for what you're getting for the money, it's absolutely astounding. So again, I love the way those sort of less renowned varietals can deliver you absolutely, an extreme pleasure for sometimes more than half of the price. So I think this is one of the true advantages of Chenin, and you should just go and try this, guys. So.
And we just got a couple of more comments coming in about, the Chenin getting ripped out in Margaret River. Does it mean it's going to be consistently hard to get quantity? Yes, we spoke about that earlier. It's really, really hard and really, really expensive, right, Kim?
Not expensive compared to Chardonnay. So it's like a third of the price of Chardonnay, but it's almost probably doubled in price from when I first started making Chenin sparkling. So yeah. But yeah, in comparison to Chardonnay, it's not expensive.
Okay. Yeah.
So again, very nice value for money. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, good. We've got the questions coming in hard and fast, which is great. Should Chenin be chilled? We only spoke about that briefly, but what is the recommended temperature you were saying, Antoine, Kim?
I would put it in the fridge for about an hour. It's probably maximum. So you want it around 12 to 15 degrees. So the same as you would with a Chardonnay. So not too chilled, because the warmer it is, the more flavors you can see. So I prefer it. Like I've taken this is my bottle's been out of the fridge for about I don't know what's the time. Yeah, about an hour, and it's perfect now.
Yeah,
beautiful.
Agreed, Samir, and probably use another opportunity to use those beautiful Chardonnay glasses you've bought, maybe to put forward the texture. No, it's absolutely a lot of similarities, as you said, Kim, with the texture, as some of the best Chardonnays. Awesome. Any final words on the Chenin, Kim, before we leave the floor to Jen?
No, I'm just looking forward to hearing everyone's comments.
There's another one I can see right here before we move on. My wife loves Sauvignon Blanc. Will she like Chenin? Sounds like it from your description.
Possibly, maybe. I'm not sure. Yeah, it depends what sort of Sauvignon Blanc she's drinking. Tell her to try it, I'd say.
Exactly. Give it a try. Awesome. Kim, thank you so much. Sorry, go ahead, Jen.
I've got FOMO. I'm sitting here drinking my wine, and everyone else is going mad on the Chenin. So yeah, I've got fear that I'm missing out. So Kim, we'll have to do a swap.
Definitely.
So for those listening at home, it's very common in the wine industry to trade wines with your mates and with industry colleagues. So we do buy wine, but it's also nice to swap. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's something Naked Wines should be organising for us if we're going to do these tastings in future.
Good feedback.
Yeah.
Duly noted. Well,
hint.
Thank you so much, Kim, for sharing, all your knowledge, all your insights about the region, about Chenin. Again, I'm really, really stoked to have this wine here with us. I think again, you should give it a try. You won't be disappointed. So thank you once again. Now we're gonna leave WA and stay with us, Kim, obviously, but and we're gonna get into Victoria. We're gonna go to Rutherglen. Jen, you're still with us, I hope.
Yes.
Fantastic. Great. So I don't know if Jen needs an introduction, for our angels, but I'll leave you the floor very, very soon, Jen. The reason why we're testing this very specific wine, Dream Reality, and again, Jen will talk to you all about that, is because in 2022, we asked our angels to rate for who was the winemaker of the decade for them. And Jen, you managed to get the trophy. So congratulations once again. Absolutely thrilled to have you as your all winemaker of the decade in 2022. And with this, you got the opportunity to make these incredible wines. I've got to say, we were lucky enough with Emily to test it a few weeks ago. It blew our socks off. Honestly, I was absolutely gobsmacked with the wine. So I'll leave you the floor, Jen, if you want to talk again about yourself, your region, what makes your wine absolutely special, and then tell us about this beautiful baby here, the Dream Reality 2023. That would be absolutely fantastic.
Sure. So g'day angels. And so I have to start like that. So I guess trying to make my story brief, I grew up basically in a winemaking family. I'm currently in the cellar door of Pfeiffer Wines, which is the property that my parents bought in 1984 when I was a wee young thing of 4 years old. Now everyone knows how old I am, but that's okay. And so I grew up here. The sort of the afternoons straight off the bus from school on the bikes into the vineyard, finding where Dad was, and helping. But really not doing anything other than just having fun and playing hide and seek in this very old facility that we have here, which is about 150 years old, and progressed through the years to climbing on the big casks. So we have barrels that hold about 2,000 litres. So getting the courage as a little sort of 7 or 8 year old to climb on the barrels and open them up and dip your hand in and get the liquid from inside out, which is sweet and luscious and delicious, because Rutherglen, where I'm from, is very famous for sweet, world-class fortified wines. And I could sniff them out from a young age. So, but it was tricky because the barrels were so big. You had to have a lot of courage to access the stuff. So yeah, so I definitely grew up around wine and you know, in a family that loved wine and talked about wine all the time. So I often say to people, like, wine's my second language, you know, and it came so easily to me because I grew up with it, I guess. So yeah, so I had a great time. I became, you know, like a bit of an entrepreneur through primary school into high school, but you know, particularly in primary school, did a little bit of artwork for the customers coming in. So as they'd come into the cellar door, I'd hit them up before they'd even bought a bottle of wine or even tasted a wine, and offered my skills as an artist to draw them a picture of themselves, do a portrait or whatever, and I'd hit them up for 20 cents before they'd gone in the door, so I'd have some money to buy whatever. And then I learned there was something a bit more lucrative. You know, we had a product here that those high school kids on the school bus were pretty interested in. And I made a fairly good business from sneaking bottles of muscat out of the winery. I had a secret stash in the peppercorn trees out the back that I used to bury them sort of in there, and then I'd dig them out and take them onto the school bus and sell them to the high school kids. And we've since worked out that I was making more money than my parents at that time. So
Oh, the black market. Oh,
yeah.
Love it.
So that was quite a good little business that I had going. And you know, mum and dad thought I was really good at saving, because you know, I could buy these things that I wanted. So yeah, then started my winemaking career working alongside my dad, and that's really important in Rutherglen. Rutherglen's one of the oldest wine regions in Australia. It has a history dating back to the 1850s, so that's about 170 years of winemaking, and that winemaking has really been like through family businesses and what I would describe as cross-generational winemaking. And in our game of fortified winemaking, that's actually really important, because they're the skills and the secrets and the knowledge and the wines that get passed on through the generations. So I feel really lucky to have had that, you know, to have the opportunity to work alongside my dad. And he was floating around here before, trying to see who I was talking to. But you know, so we're still working closely together, which is really, really lovely. And then I came to Naked. I was one of the original winemakers to join Naked back in 2012. And I was introduced to Naked Wines through Sam Plunkett. So Sam and I are buddies from way back when. So Sam's dad and my dad used to work with each other in the wine industry. My dad bought Riesling grapes from Sam's dad. And so they knew each other for a long period of time. Then Sam, because he's a little bit older than me, he had done some work with my dad, you know, through the industry. And then I'd done a little bit of work with Sam. Anyway, Sam knew all about Naked and I knew nothing about Naked. And Sam recommended me to Naked, a bit like Kim was recommended to Naked by Ben. And I don't know what you thought, Kim, but when this is what happened to me when Naked turned up. So through Sam, we organised a meeting, and it was the middle of vintage 2012, and I'm not really known for fashion, believe it or not, but I was looking particularly unattractive. I think I had like holes in all my clothes. I was filthy. You know, the hat, the custom hat was a bit wonky. Like I was, you know, I was really prepped for a meeting with a potential customer. anyway, my dad was really cranky with me. He's saying, you can't go to a meeting like this. You need to go home and get changed. And I was fighting back, saying, I'm not getting changed. People can't accept me for who I am. I don't want to do business with them and all this stuff. Like, just really the normal father-daughter kind of
just rocking it like a redhead is all you're doing.
Right. That's right. Poor old exactly. Mum and dad having a redhead. So anyway, and then Naked walked through the door, and there are these guys in shorts and shirts that are like not buttoned up and thongs, and I am fine. I am going to absolutely nail this. What was it like that for you?
Oh, I didn't meet them. I was talking to them on the phone, but I was like, hang on a minute. Is this real? Like, you're going to send me money before I've made the wine? I was like, this doesn't happen. I thought it was a scam. I was like, Dan, this can't be real. He's like stepping me through. It's like, no, it actually happened. Then this money had turned up in my account. I was like, what the hell? I couldn't believe it. It was awesome.
Yeah, well, that was the same with me. I mean, we had our meeting with Naked, and then I sort of got on the phone straight away and rang Sam, and I said, so let me just get this straight. So Naked saying that the Angels, provide the funding, and as part of that funding, you pay us to make the wine, and then we go and make it. And and Sam's like, yes, and I'm like, but what's the catch?
Yeah, I know. It's like, hang on, there's got to be something. And I'm like ringing when the money turned up. Are you? Is this real? And I could not believe it.
Yeah, there you go. The beauty of it.
Yeah, and I think it was, I mean, back in 2012, like, even that sort of crowdfunding idea wasn't particularly well known. And certainly never applied to wine, like absolutely never applied to wine. If you think of the traditional setup for wine, which is what my parents did, they bought this property. They did buy some established vineyard, but if there was no established vineyard there, they would have planted a vineyard at absolute very best, and pushing those vines harder than they should, they would get their first crop in 3 years. But really, for the vine's sake, you should wait for 5 years. Then you've got to make the wine and then potentially mature the wine, depending on the style of wine. So you're looking at 5 or 6 years before you've even got anything. And then you just have to hope that someone even has heard about you and then likes your wine enough to buy a bottle home. It's so the whole Naked model was just so different, sort of turned the whole industry on its head really for us, didn't it, Kim?
Totally. It was, mind-boggling.
Yeah, so that was pretty crazy. But anyway, look, the holes worked, and I've kind of having to rock that book ever since.
Yeah, right? And then you had the wonderful Angels go, yeah, the goddamn winemaker of the decade. Can you please make us a wine for it? So tell us all about this wine. Like, tell us what's in there, because you were cheeky and you sent Antoine and I the first sample of it, and you told us nothing about the varietals that were in there. Yes.
Some of the best blind tasting game I've had to play, honestly. I was all over the shop with this.
Well, firstly, I have to say thank you to all of the Angels for voting me as your winemaker of the decade. While I do love a great celebration, truly I'm absolutely humbled by that, and it actually means so much to me, because I really want to make the wines for all of the Angels and all of you guys. So that's a heartfelt absolute thanks, and totally rocking it with that news. So thank you. But yes, I did want to do something different. I mean, as you know, I make a lot of different wines. We make a lot of different wine styles here, but I am really passionate about Portugal. I've done a couple of vintages in Portugal. In fact, I made a series of wine called the Redhead for Naked, based on a winemaker's fantasy that I was able to do in 2014, going to my beloved Douro Valley. And in the Douro Valley, that's where port originally comes from. So there's a lot of different red varietals, and the Portuguese are winemakers who love blending. So it's very rare to see a single varietal wine. And that's quite different in terms of sort of what I got brought up with in Australia, and probably Kim too, you know, particularly when we were starting our careers in the early 2000s, it really was about single varietal wines, you know. That was really important in Australia. And so, you know, going over to Portugal and seeing not only how the Portuguese loved blended wines, but how they made blended wines was really, really interesting to me. And I love it. I love Portugal. If you ever can't find me in Rutherglen, if I go missing, I'll be in Portugal for sure. So that
Sorry, Jen,
that definitely...
to interrupt you here. What do you love that much in Portugal? What's the thing, you know, you don't have in Australia and you have in Portugal over there? Is that the people? Is that the place? Is that the way they make wine? Obviously, you're speaking about blending and so on. What's the one thing that you love about Portugal so much?
Well, I would describe Portugal, or the Douro Valley is like my spiritual home. Like when I've gone there, and you know, I had such high expectations because I love fortified wines. I'm a passionate fortified wine maker, and I wanted to go where vintage port was made. I wanted to go to the home of port, and I wanted to make that. And so the expectation was through the roof, right? And then I went there, and my total expectations were met and some. And you can't until you go there, it's so hard to describe the Douro. You've got the terrace vineyards going all the way from the top of the mountains, they call them. Ooh, I'm sorry, I just went black. From the top of the mountains all the way down to the river, and you're looking at terrain from anywhere 100 meters above sea level up to 1,100 meters above sea level. You've got the beautiful schist soils, which is the sort of made from the granitic rock that decomposes, and then you get that lovely sort of transfer of heat from the day up into the fruit at night, and keeps it maturing, keeps it ripening, which is important for the port. I love the people, amazing people. I love the wines. I mean, I love port wine. It's just my place, you know, and I just felt, yeah, I love it. I love it so much. It's stunning. I'm so happy every time I've ever been there. I've been so happy to be there, and I find it inspirational. So yeah, that's so I'd been to Portugal in 2014, and I made my Reserve Ruby, and I made a Douro DOC dry red blend. And I guess I had wanted the opportunity to do that again. And in 2018, I made a vintage port style called the Fascination, which is cracking wine in my view.
That.
And
I remember that. Oh,
so
say it.
I've still got a few bottles. Sorry, Angels. I probably shouldn't say that out loud, should I? I'm going to get a few comments.
Let me send you a text right now.
I made that, but I really haven't had that opportunity to make a blended wine using many different varietals, and so the opportunity came with the winemaker of the decade nomination to dream up and dream big my Dream Reality European Vacation, which is a blend of four different varieties. So I wasn't able to use all Portuguese. Thank you, Em. Yep, looking good. I can tell you about the label if you want. But I wanted to use only Portuguese grape varieties, but unfortunately the growing season in 2022 didn't allow that. The Portuguese varieties they love warm, dry conditions. So when you have slightly wetter ends to the season, it can be bad for them. And that's sort of what happened to a couple of varieties I was looking at using. So I've blended Shiraz and Cabernet. I've blended Tempranillo or Tinta Roriz, as they call it in Portugal, and a very special variety called Sazao, which is maybe the secret ingredient. Sazao is an incredible Portuguese variety. It has the most intense colour you could ever imagine. Now, some of the people who know my wines might have tried my Diamond Giriffe, which is massive, big, inky, bold. you put a Sazao next to the Giriffe in terms of color, and it's just out of sight. Like it is just incredible. It has a lot of tannin,
Wow.
and it also has incredible acidity. So Kim, like we'd probably pick the Sazao at around 14 Beaumet with 3.3 pH. So really great acidity. You don't need to add any, and that sort of drives the tannin. So really, you get a huge impact from that variety. So I was desperate to use the Sazao, and I'm so pleased that I did. And I had a lot of fun putting the blend together because a couple of lucky angels, Brian and Gab from Queensland, were able to come down and join in the blending with me, and with some good coaching, we really, I think, nailed it.
That's awesome. And so, where is this Sazao coming from?
So we've got Sazao here. So in part of what my parents inherited was what we call the varietal patch block, or it was a mixed port varietals block. So there was 26 different varieties of Portuguese grape varieties that are suitable for port, but not necessarily the classic ones. So we inherited that. So there's a bit of Sazao there. We also get Sazao from the Ngambie Lakes region as well.
Oh, okay.
So I've got a grower there. But they're the only sort of two places actually I've sort of seen it in Victoria. Around in Rutherglen, there's I think 4 vineyards now that have Sazao, and there's only the one that I know in the Ngambie Lakes. But I as a variety, I love it, and so I'm on the hunt.
And so should you? Sorry, go ahead, Em.
I was just curious, like all I can think in my head, like Sazao, kapow, like from what you're saying, like so big and deeply colored. What's the percentage of each varietal that you popped in there? Because you got 4 beauties in there, and I feel like I'm taken on a journey every time I smell and sip it, like I'm tasting everything. So the balance is awesome, but what's the percentage?
Well, it's interesting because I think at different times of this wine's life, I've seen more of the the Shiraz coming through, and other times more Tempranillo coming through. Tonight I see like tasting in the glass, I see a bit of the Shiraz coming through, but I see a lot of the influence of the Temp and the Sazao with the savouriness on the palate, because Tempranillo's got that wonderful savoury sort of tannin character, and I think the power that you get from the Sazao really comes through with the tannin on the end. But the Sazao is only 10% in that blend, so you can't, like, it would, we definitely tried putting more in, but because it's got so much sort of grunt, it's sort of like your tempering kind of wine. So if you think of if your Cabernet's white and your Sazao's black, then you put them together and you find that perfect shade of grey. And I think you need a lot less Sazao to get that perfect shade of grey. Well, I don't know that to say that. And then
go ahead.
And then I can't remember like the exact percentages, 48.5 or whatever. But so the Cabernet, the Shiraz are in pretty similar quantities. I think they're roughly around that 35 or something each, and then so there's about 20% temp.
Wow. Okay.
So
yeah, nice.
It was fun when we did the blending with Brian and Gab, because I tasted the different parcels, and Brian was like, oh, I really like that, so let's put a lot of that in. But then he could see that when that was too dominant, when one wine became too dominant, actually took away from the purpose of what we're trying to achieve with the blend. And it was about putting all those different pieces together to create that harmony and that interest and that complexity. Yeah.
And I think this is to come back on what you said previously, Jen. I think the beauty of Portugal, but also most European countries, in blending red, is that if you nail that balance correctly, you have, you know, an absolute, you know, a lovely complexity, but it's just really really different than, you know, testing all individual components, you know, individually. And I think this is the beauty of it, because this is a risk, right? You're like, okay, well, you're not sure how it's going to go and so on, but it's like, you know, testing the right blend of Cabernet Merlot, Cabernet Franc, Petit Verdot. You know, it's you need to be very very cautious on the blend overall. And when we tested the wine and testing the wine today, it's again, it's another journey. We because of this complexity, exactly as you described them, you know, you have all the right components, but in your mouth, you know, they are all coming at once together. And this is a massive reward, you know, for the winemaker, but for us, the drinkers. So I hope you're all testing that if you're testing the wine now. But is that correct, Jen? You know, that's, you know, I guess in blending wine, and especially blending reds, you get this extra complexity that sort of you know, takes the wine to another level.
Yeah, so I think I have a fair amount of experience in blending wine because of all the fortified wines that we make. So making a lot of fortified wines, they're generally blended wines. So that's, you know, I like a little bit of this and a little bit of that work together and create a, you know, the sum definitely is better than the parts in some cases. And I like figuring that out. For me, that's like a cool part of my job, you know, thinking, yeah, if I have this and I put that with there and a little bit of that and I make the magic happen, you know, I love that. Like that's my favorite job probably. So absolutely, when you can see the componentry of the wine, you know, what do we love about Shiraz? We love the richness, you know, we love the sweet, ripe fruit, love that. So love that generosity that's going to bring. What do we love about Cabernet? We love the tannin. We love the length that you're going to get from that tannin and that structure, the backbone that it's going to bring. What am I going to get from the Tempranillo? Again, lovely fruit, but a different layering of the fruit to the Shiraz, you know, similar sort of way where it hits you in the mid palate, but it's going to be, you're going to have the temp and then building on that with the Shiraz back into the temp, and then those tannins gives that savoriness. So more complexity rather than sort of really relying just on those Cabernet tannins coming through. And then the Shiraz, the Juge. You know.
The Juge.
We got an angel here saying, can you drink straight, Sazal?
It's definitely more challenging as a individual table wine varietal because it's got really sort of dark fruit, lots of acidity, lots of tannin. So it needs time in barrel to soften and all come together. I've got some straight Sazal in barrel from 2023, and you know, whether that gets blended or not, but I wanted to keep it separate to answer that question. And I looked at the wine before vintage, and I was like, oh, not ready yet. So it still needed a little bit of time to settle down. So I'm due to have another tasting of it. Well, this week or not this week, sorry, next week or the week after. So a probably better place to answer that question then.
Yeah, keep us posted. And Kim, you've definitely turned someone here. They are normally a Reds only drinker, but your Shannon is amazing. They've got it at 20 degrees right now, which is epic.
Awesome.
They'll chill it tomorrow for lunch. But I mean, like we were saying, probably only like another 4 degrees down. I mean,
yeah, no, don't need to chill it much.
It's great at 20. Keep it at 20. But
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We'll pop it in the fridge for 20 minutes, maybe.
But that's really awesome to hear. And I think this is, you know, the point of, you know, this exercise and for you guys as well to you know, as part of Fine Wine Club members, to be able to taste those wines. We sometimes are, you know, a little bit off the beaten tracks. And I think for me, it's just a reward, you know, take a risk on a wine, you know, I don't know, a varietal, I don't know, and boom, you know, there you go. You have just an amazing experience. So I think that's the beauty of all this. Guys, I'm just mindful of time. It's already 8 p.m. I'm just going to look whether or not we have any questions from the chat.
We've had another comment like, love the stories, guys. Thanks so much for the tips. So you've really helped people go off and go off and enjoy their drinks. If anyone's got any last minute questions, we're happy to grab them as well if you want to pop them in the chat.
Just have to say I'm very jealous, Jen. I want to try your wine now.
Hey, I'll sort it.
Oh, there you go.
Get it
well, thank you. Okay, yeah, that's awesome. We definitely need to organize that for you guys. I think that's there was a lovely combination as well. You know, to have two of our favorite female winemakers presenting us. Two amazing, very different wines from very different regions, and the beauty of that is that you are so passionate. With your own region, your own varietals, and that's what we love about that. So. Again, a massive thank you for attending the session tonight, Kim, Jen. We're so proud to have you with us. Just checking if we have any last question, and then I will let everyone go.
Nothing else has come through.
No, nothing else.
Final reminder, please rate the wines. Actually, something that we didn't really touch on. Fine Wine Club subscribers, you actually got the first look at Jen's European Vacation Dream Reality Red. We're officially not launching it until next week. So if you can let other angels know what it's all about, how you're enjoying it, please rate it on the app or on the website. And if you have any more questions on either of the wines, Kim and Jen will get back to you.
Exactly. Thank you for this reminder, Em. So this is actually a preview for you guys. Enjoy it. Once again, Kim, Jen, thank you so much. We'll talk to you very, very soon. Em, Meg, Lulu, it was lovely to have you as well in there, as always. And have a beautiful evening, everyone.
Thanks, Ant. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
See you.
See you later. Bye.
Bye-bye, team.